Good morning. You're really welcome to this morning's practice. So we're going to come onto our backs. So take your time. Come onto your back. Get comfortable on your back. You can keep your knees bent and your 2 feet on the floor. And we'll take it from there. And then very, very gently we will begin to deepen our breath. But starting slow, so the breath just gets a little bit deeper to begin. And if you can, you're breathing through the nose. And you're breathing in slow motion. So it's as if you're very deliberately infusing this soothing quality into and through the breath. And you're feeling and listening to the breath. And both the inhalation and the exhalation are uniformed, they're fluid, there's an evenness to all parts. And if it's possible to go a little bit deeper with the breath, but we're not forcing or straining in any way. to introduce a pause between the breath. A second or 2 seconds to begin, something simple. The breath might shorten a little to accommodate the pause. So everything stays comfortable. And if you feel it's possible to lengthen the pause between the breath, play with that. But really seeing, can you rest in the pause? You're not holding and struggling. Can you soften in the pause? Stay with your breath. this breath. So really moving toward the deepest breath and the longest pause that you can accommodate and sustain without straining, without forcing. after the next exhalation, we'll allow the breath to come back to its natural rhythm. Just continuing to rest here for the moment. Let's bend our knees so we can have the feet on the floor. If you've got cushions underneath you, I'll ask you to move them out of the way. So we're lying on our backs. Yeah, be warm. Okay, let's bring the two legs together and cross the left leg over, all the way over the right leg, left over right. Move the hips a little to the left and allow the legs to drop toward the right. If you want to put something underneath the legs to support them, feel free to do that. Cushion, a brick. Take the arms wide. Turn the palms to face up if you can. And just settle with whatever you're noticing in your body. Imagine you could breathe into wherever the tightness might be. So this practice, this embodied practice, strengthens our capacity to be here in this present moment. And in a sense, then, we get to explore ourselves in this moment. Just to be with the simplicity of the moment. And it might simply be the discomfort in your body, the breath moving through you. In one sense, maybe it's not as exciting as the stories that we can tell ourselves, the places that we can go in our mind. But something else happens and becomes available as we work with these practices of presence. If you have room, your left arm just slides a little closer to your left ear, like halfway toward the ear. And you'll notice it'll just create a little bit more of a stretch along that side of the body. Something else to breathe into. Nothing, again, is forced or strained, but we're certainly connecting with some quality of discomfort in the body. And just like the first practice, the idea of breathing into what you're meeting as a way of meeting what is uncomfortable with a gentleness, allowing the body to be uncomfortable. Perfect. And then bring everything back to center. Bring the legs back, uncross them. 2 feet on the floor, hips back to center. Just take a moment so you're feeling the body and you're noticing any subtle shifting or changes that are occurring as we move through our practice. Let's take the right leg now on top of the left, all the way over thigh, so the two thighs are connected. And then slide the hips a little to the right, let the knees drop toward the left. Again, you're breathing into what you're meeting. And then we let the right arm slide a little closer to the right ear. Long, deep breaths. Just a few more breaths here. Breathing into wherever the tightness might be. Perfect. And then we'll bring everything back to center again, uncross, 2 feet on the floor, hips back to center. And again, just to be still for a moment here and feel, be receptive to what's moving through you, to the sensations in the body. Alert to this moment. Okay, first side again, left leg all the way over the right leg, hips a little to the left, and again we'll let the 2 legs drop over to the right, noticing that this time as you go in it might feel a little different. And again at the beginning we just pause. Now very simple, the left leg slides over to the right, just stretches out to wherever it can go to without forcing. And when it gets there, I want you to bend it again and extend it. And we'll just pulse it, just slowly pulse. Bend and extend, bend and extend. And now as you extend and keep it extended, just tune into the foot and move the toes, move the foot as if you were turning the foot in circles. Just feel and notice what's there. huge part of the practice is just noticing parts of ourselves, parts of our physical body that we haven't really tuned into or connected into. You know, a lot of our body, we only go there if it's painful, if it's uncomfortable, if there's a overtly strong sensation there. But to just go to these places and acknowledge them, notice them, feel them. Perfect, okay. We'll bring that leg all the way back. So again, we come all the way back to center. And again, as you get back to center, just pause, be still for a few moments and feel. Notice the difference in the two sides. And then we'll take the right leg over the left, move the hips a little to the right, drop the knees over toward the left. First thing is just to pause, breathe. And then you're extending and bending that right leg, extending it out, bending the knee, just to whatever is available. And then extending the leg and moving the toes, moving the foot and feeling. And then we'll bring it all back again. Okay. So 2 feet on the floor, hips back to center. Now, very simple. You begin to press down through the hips, the buttocks. So as you're pressing down, it's deepening the arch in your lower back. It's a little bit of a tilting in the pelvis where the pelvic floor is moving downward toward the floor. So the sacrum, the top of the sacrum is tilting upward toward the sky. Now you just go to whatever feels available, trying to keep that heavy anchored feeling in the hips. So you're intentionally pressing down. And then just breathe, just take some breaths here. And even as you sustain this, can you notice if there's a difference in the two sides, a different feeling or sensation, different quality in the two sides of the hips? And for most of us there is. We'll tend to inhabit or overwork one side more than another. And then let it soften. And we'll take the left ankle over the right thigh this time. We'll move the hips again to the left and we'll drop the legs over to the right with the sole of the left foot on the floor. Not the side of the foot, the sole of the foot on the floor. So the left knee points toward the sky. And of course, if the foot doesn't come all the way to the floor, that's perfectly fine, wherever you get to. Either way, the left knee is more or less pointing upward toward the sky. Now, this position, like all of the positions, is designed to bring you into some of the hidden holding in your body, some of the hidden tension, the hidden resistance. So you feel that, you breathe into that. Imagine you could breathe right into it. And if you feel like you want to go a little bit deeper, very simple, the left knee, the top knee begins to tilt away from your body. Long, deep, comfortable breaths.
nice. And then let that left leg relax. And just lift the left foot over the right leg to slowly bring yourself back to the beginning. And as you come back here, the 2 feet are on the floor and the hips are back to center, that idea of pressing the buttocks down, pressing the hips down again. So it's the base of the glutes that you're trying to press down, and the top of the glutes, so the base of the lower back, is arching up. So you're bringing the weight to the base of the hips. And again, you just go to whatever feels available. You're not forcing here, you're not straining. If you meet something sharp, back off. And then just a few more breaths here. Just wading into the pelvis, anchoring the pelvis. Pelvis is very much about anchoring, grounding. Perfect. Now we'll let that soften. We're going to take the right ankle over the left thigh. And we move the hips to the right and we let the 2 legs tilt or drop over to the left. Take your time. Now as you come into the pose, you might straight away be with a fair degree of tension in that right hip. Perfect. Breathe into that. And again, if you feel like you want to go a little deeper, the top knee tilts away. It'll just bring you a little deeper into it. Breathe. Breathe into it. Perfect. And then let that right leg begin to relax. And again, we're just going to lift, just slowly lifting the right foot over. Just drag it over to bring yourself back to the beginning. 2 feet on the floor, hips back to center. And again, we just pause and we notice and we feel. The body is very much a language. Body is speaking to us all the time. And usually we're just listening to the difficult bits of the language when the body is in pain. And even then, quite often, we don't truly listen to it. And we want to push it away, we want it to stop being painful, we'll repress it, and yet the body has an ancient wisdom teaching us how to be here in this embodied experience, to be human beings. The body is part of this cyclical, pulsing movement of life, and trying to remind us how to live in a way that is in accordance with that. So begin to press the buttocks back into the floor in the same way we've done already, so you feel the arch in the lower back deepening a little as you weight down through the pelvis. This time, can you keep that heavy in the hips, arch in the lower back? Notice where the head is. Just tune into the head. Even turn the face a little from side to side. So you just feel the part of the head that's connected to the floor. And then I want you to also, as you press the hips down, press the back of the head down. Now, none of this is forced, strained. It's all sustainable levels of effort. But can you press down through the bum and through the head so much that you actually feel the back of the shoulders become a little bit lighter? Keep breathing, steady in the breath. Could you tilt your chin a little bit further away from your chest, just till you feel the front of the throat is slightly longer, or we might say open, a sense of it being open. And then can you begin to take deep, deep breaths into the ribs, the back of the ribs, the sides of the ribs, just to fill all of that space as you take your deep inhalations. You're still pressing the hips down and the head down. Stay with it. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and then begin to soften all of that. Everything softens. Now, very simple. We're going to bring the soles of the feet together. Let the two knees drop apart. If you find this in any way difficult, you either put some cushions underneath the legs to support them so they've something solid to drop into, taking the pressure off the groins, or you separate the feet apart and you let the two knees drop in and rest on each other. Two legs rest together in that way. But for the next couple of minutes, the game is that you're comfortable. The two hands rest on the lower abdomen, one hand over the other. Close the eyes. Comfortable breath, and notice the movement underneath your hands that happens. Just be aware of that space, that be gently the focal point. Keep bringing the attention back to your breath. Perfect. Okay. We're going to bring the two knees back up. We're going to roll over to our side. And we're going to take a few moments on the side just to get comfortable. You might use your hand or arm like a pillow, or indeed if you have a pillow there. But just rolling over to either side. And just pausing here. Be comfortable. Let the attention move again to the breath. So we're going to slowly make our way onto hands and knees, onto all fours.
So in this position of hands and knees, very simple, we'll close the eyes. We begin by letting the hips sway gently from side to side. Begin to take some deeper breaths, and as you breathe, you're breathing into the back of the ribs. And at the same time as you breathe into the ribs, could you bring a little movement into the shoulders? So the hips and the shoulders, those corners of the body, are moving comfortably and fluidly. Notice if you're sinking down in the back of the neck and the head, and I want you to lift the neck. So the neck then fills the upper back. Front of the throat is open. Belly, lower back is relaxed. Very similar or very same to the position we were doing when we were on our backs in terms of the alignment of the spine. So we're going to pause here for a moment. We're going to bring the weight over to the left hand. We're going to take the right hand. We're going to make a fist, thumb over fingers. And we turn the hand so the fingers are facing our legs. So we could say the back of the hand is facing forward. And I want you to bring most of the weight to the metacarpals, you know, those knuckles at the base of the fingers. They're down on the floor. They're heavy, they're anchored, and they stay on the floor. And every other part might lift, but those stay down. Now, wherever we go with this stretch, you keep your thumb connected to your fingers. So you keep the fist. The hand will want to splay open. If it opens, you've gone too far into the stretch. So you begin to tilt the back of the hand toward the floor. You won't get very far before you're going to feel a tightness through the hand, through the forearm. You're breathing as you meet it. Doesn't matter how far you go, but you don't let the wrist or the hand open up. So you just breathe into what you're meeting. Now, you can bring weight over to the index finger, and then you can roll over to the little finger, and you're going to get different parts of the holding through the wrist and forearm. And you're just exploring and meeting and breathing. Keep the thumb on the fingers. Perfect. And then just release that and just shake it out. Just shake out the hand. Shake it out. And then when you're ready, you just kind of move the fingers, open and close the hand. Just ease it out. And then put that hand down. And for a moment, just feel into the two hands. Just feel the different qualities in the two hands. And then we'll do the second side. We make a fist. The fingers are facing the body, and then you're tilting the back of the hand toward the floor. And you're moving index finger to little finger. Playing around, just looking for the sweet spots, which of course are not very sweet. The tighter places, and just pausing and breathing.
Stay with it. Perfect. Okay. Let's lift that up. Let's shake it out a little. Open and close. Take your time. And again, we'll put it down. Spread the fingers. And the weight moves from the wrists forward as you create a gripping action with the fingers and thumbs. And again, you're weighting into that part of the hand at the base of the fingers, those metacarpal knuckles, anchoring into them. Bend the elbows a few inches to the sides of the room, and without moving the hands, pull them toward each other. So you build some resistance. You feel that engagement through the arms and through the chest. I want to see, can you sustain some of that as you slowly re-straighten the arms. You're pressing the earth away, pushing the earth down as the arms become straight, and the sense of the torso, the back rising, the neck is part of that. So the neck is lifted, gaze is maybe a few feet in front of the hands along the floor. And then the belly and the lower back can soften, can melt downward a little. Now, anywhere it gets overly tight, you've got to breathe into that space. A little shrugging in the shoulders to support some length between the hips and the shoulders. And without moving anything, push your knees away from each other. So you're pulling the hands toward each other, you're pressing the knees apart. Feel the widening in the hips, the tightness around the lower back. I want you to breathe into that space. Breathe for 3. For 2. Perfect. And then for 1. Okay, we're going to come all the way up onto our knees. So we're going to lift the hands off the floor. Okay, great. Let's take our left leg forward, left foot forward. Now, if you want to have something to support you, a chair, a book, feel free to do that. We take the left foot slightly further forward than the knee. So the ankle's a little bit further forward than the knee. Very simple here. We go in incrementally. We don't force. We begin to let the hips sink forward. Now, the chances are, as you're going forward, the back knee will feel sensitive. So you can either pad it or you press the back foot more firmly into the earth. So either one of those will distribute the weight. So you take your time. If you need to readjust at any point, feel free to do that. You go to whatever feels available. You pause, you breathe, you meet what's there. There's no rush. You might feel then that there's a little bit more space to go a little deeper as the body begins to dilate. Just breathe. So it's finding those points along the way that you can access some of the holding in the body, but equally that you can sustain the place that you're accessing it through. So quite often we go too far and it gets too taut. So it's like our attitude becomes hardened and we're trying to open something up with this harder attitude. We're looking for softness. We want to infuse softness into the body. Let it dilate, let it open, breathe with it. A few more breaths here. Nice. Okay, let's bring the hips back, slowly back. And then we'll step 2 legs back and we'll just pause here on the knees. Let the arms relax, close the eyes. So it's little work, a little effort as you can to be here, belly relaxed.
Just notice the breath here. Perfect, okay. So, open the eyes. Let's take the other leg forward. Place the foot. And then just slowly let the hips begin to sink forward. You might go a little bit and just pause and breathe. Take your time. Stay aware of your breath. Breathe. Perfect. Okay, let's bring it on back again. Again, we'll come back to the knees. We just pause here, take your time. Everything relaxed. Noticing the breath. Perfect. Okay, let's open the eyes. First side again, same position. Take your time. Before you take the hips forward, feel into the 2 feet. Try to spread the toes in the 2 feet and anchor them down. So intentionally, the toe area of the feet. So you've got the pads of the front foot and the toenails of the back foot, really pressing down. Try to keep that connection as you then let the hips melt forward. Breathe. A few more breaths. Okay, we're going to bring it on back again. 2 legs back. We go straight to the second side. Take your time. As you come to the second side, feel into the feet again. Again, anchoring into the earth. And then slowly letting the hips sink forward. Take as long as you need, go in as many steps as you feel is right for you. Breathe. A few more breaths here. Perfect. And we're going to come all the way back. And again, take the front leg back. Okay, we just pause here. Close the eyes. Okay, so let's take the left leg forward again. This time the ankle is right underneath the knee. Okay, I'm going to keep the left hand up on the knee. Going to bring the right down to the floor. And I'm going to slide the right a little further over to the right and lay the whole hand down. So that right hand, the fingers are pointing to the right. If I can see it, the crease of my elbow is lined to my thumb. So that means that my bicep is twisting outward. And then I bring my left hand onto my left ribs. And I close the eyes. And I breathe into the ribs that I'm holding. And not only can I feel those ribs moving, but I know the lower ribs are moving as well. That pulsing quality as I breathe. Body expanding and contracting. And I'm going to stay connected to that quality of pulsation as I press the bottom hand into the floor so that the ribs that I'm holding might arc up or press up into the top hand. Whatever is available, so that left side of the body gets longer. And I breathe into what I'm meeting. The bottom hand is working, the fingers are working, the weight, remember, is forward in the hand, not in the wrist. Okay, open the eyes. Without moving the body, just let that left hand arm drop down. You're not twisting the body to face down. So the arm is dropped in front of your body toward the floor. And then without dropping the shoulder, stretch the fingers straight down toward the floor.
Breathe into the stretch at the back of that shoulder. Even the idea of leaning into the back a little. Breathe 3, breathe 2, breathe 1, and then we'll come on out. Take your time. Come on up. Left leg comes back. Right leg comes forward. Okay. So we keep the right hand up. We'll bring the left down. Over. Stretch it over to the left. The whole hand comes down. We anchor into the hand. We'll take the right hand onto the right ribs. Close the eyes, come back to the breath. Just feel the movement of the ribs. That simple, natural pulsation. Every cell in your body is designed to pulse in this way. Press down through the bottom hand. Let those top ribs arc a little, open, lengthen. Breathe into what you're meeting. Without moving the torso, the top arm just drops down toward the floor, like it's just hanging toward the floor. And then a little bit of effort as you stretch the fingers down to open the back of that shoulder and breathe into that space. Breathe for 3, for 2, and then for 1, and then release the hand down and come back onto your hands and knees, come back onto all fours. Very simple again, we just let the hips sway a little. Lower back relaxed. Inhaling and exhaling. Perfect. So we're going to come to a seated position, whatever easiest position is for you. So if you're sitting down on the floor, you use something to support the hips, or you sit in a chair if that's more comfortable. So you get comfortable in your seat. Okay, when you get there, close the eyes and become aware of the breath again. Just notice the breath. It can be amazing when we're working with the body and beginning to move and shift and open and reconnect, and how it becomes easier then for us to be here, to be in this moment. That a lot of what we experience as our disconnect or the angst or those challenging moments can be because our bodies are just uncomfortable to be in. And of course our bodies are articulating to us that certain aspects of our lives are uncomfortable or need to be looked at or worked with or met in a different way. And what we're doing through our practice is we're meeting that discomfort in our body with loving awareness. We're breathing into it, we're giving it time. And the body's desire, as in the desire of all things in nature, is to move back into balance. So as our body does that, it becomes easier for us just to be here, to be in this moment, to
to be, in a sense, connected to that part of us that recognizes that in this moment we are full, that we are complete. We don't have to go looking or searching for anything outside of ourselves. We don't need anything else to fill us up. We don't need anybody else in our life. We don't need a cup of coffee. We don't need any of it. In this moment, we're full. We're complete. We are each a spark of the divine, full within ourselves and part of a bigger tapestry, a glowing matrix of life. And the invitation of each of our lives is to awaken to this deeper truth. And then the people in our lives, the cups of coffee, all of these things become simply a gift. Something to adorn the fullness with. And when we begin to experience this deeper quality of fullness, then our capacity to give back. And this is the path of the Bodhisattva. Recognizing that we are full, and from that full cup then we give. So notice your breath again. Inhaling and exhaling. So the breath we're going to work with now is the 3-phase breath, where the inhalation has 3 parts to it. The inhalation begins in the hips, and we're breathing all the way up to the top of the throat. And we breathe initially into that lower abdomen area, then from there into the center of the chest, and then from there right up into the top of the throat. So 3 parts, 3 even parts. And we pause for a moment, and then there's a slow, long, steady exhalation all the way back down. And a moment at the very end where we pause, and then we begin again. your breath. One more round. So as the hands come together in front of the heart, we ask that every part of ourselves, particularly the parts that have been cast away or locked up, that all of these places can come to the vicinity of our heart. within the gravitational pull of our hearts, so that every part of us can be touched by the heart that is deeply connected, deeply present, deeply full. And that we then get to bring this deeper sense of ourselves, this deeper sense of the life moving through us, into our lives and into the world. To ourselves, to each other. We'll bow. Namaste. So thank you so much for joining the class this morning. I hope you enjoyed it.